Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's tale. I was banned from my cousin's wedding for not being classy enough, but she didn't know I had connections. The guest list couldn't touch. My name is Savannah Blake. I'm in my early 30s. I guess you could say, I'm pretty normal. I work hard. I pay my bills. I like to laugh. I try to be a good person. But in my family, normal wasn't really the goal. The goal was classy, or at least their idea of it. And I never quite measured up growing up. It felt like I always had a different label than my cousins. They were the proper ones. The well-behaved ones. I was Olivia Hayes, usually followed by a sigh or a shake of the head. She's the wild one. My Margaret, my cousin Eleanor's mother, would say, not wild like I was breaking laws, just wild like I didn't care about matching my socks perfectly or practicing my ladylike posture. I liked jeans, I liked loud music, I spoke my mind. This didn't fit the family picture. Aunt Margaret was the queen of appearances. Everything had to look perfect. Even if it wasn't real, she always compared me to Eleanor. Eleanor was blonde, pretty, and learned early how to play the part. She knew which fork to use. She knew how to make small talk about boring things. She was in their eyes the definition of classy. I was not. This comparison was constant. Low hum in the background of every family gathering. Look how neat Eleanor's hair is. Olivia Hayes. Eleanor got into the right clubs at college. Eleanor has such elegant taste. It got old fast. So when Eleanor got engaged to Derek, I knew the wedding would be a big deal for them. Not just a celebration of love, but a performance. A show of how classy and perfect they were. Eleanor started planning it like it was a royal event. Every detail had to be Instagram, perfect Pinterest. Ready the vision, she called it her Pinterest vision as the wedding planning went on. I heard bits and pieces through the family grapevine, the fancy venue, the expensive dress, the carefully curated guest list. I didn't expect a front row seat, but I thought, family is family, even. If I wasn't Eleanor's favorite person, I was still her cousin. We'd built blanket forts together as kids, even if she complained I messed up the pillows. Then the invitations started arriving in the mail. My parents got one, my other cousins got them days. Turned into a week, no invitation for me. At first I thought maybe it got lost. Mail happens. But then I talked to Sarah, a mutual friend of mine and Eleanor's. Sarah was on the guest list, but she was also pretty down to earth. I asked her if she'd heard anything about my invite. Sarah hesitated. Olivia Hayes. She said softly, you didn't get one. Me stomach dropped. No, why, Eleanor? She said she decided not to invite some people. Sarah explained, sounding uncomfortable. People who didn't fit the vibe. Didn't fit the vibe, I asked, even though I already knew. Sarah mumbled, yeah, like her Pinterest vision thing. She said she wanted everyone to be classy enough. Her exact words, it was a punch to the gut. Classy enough, that was their code for not like Olivia Hayes. Not conforming, not pretending. It stung. It wasn't just about missing a wedding. It was about being deliberately excluded, judged, and found lacking by my own family. They saw me as a stain on their perfect picture. It hurt more than I expected. I felt a mix of sadness and anger. Mostly I just felt disposable, like I was easily cut out because I didn't meet their ridiculous standards. I tried to shake it off. Their wedding, their rules. I told myself if they wanted a wedding that looked good on camera instead of one filled with people who loved them, that was their choice. A sad choice, but theirs. But the classy enough comment really stuck with me. It felt mean-spirited, like they were proud of shutting me out because I wasn't refined enough for their tastes. It brought back all the years of comparisons of being made to feel like the odd one out. A few days later, still feeling a bit down about it, I was talking to Ethan. Ethan is the son of Mr. Richard. My mentor, Mr. Richard, isn't my mentor in the traditional sense of a formal program, but he's someone I've known for years through work connections. He's a really successful businessman, runs a lot of different things, and he's always been incredibly kind and supportive of me. He's given me advice, opened doors, and genuinely seems to believe in me. His family owns a bunch of properties, including some event venues. I wasn't planning to tell Ethan or his dad about the wedding drama. It felt too petty, but I happened to mention I was having a weird week because of some family stuff, Ethan asked. What was up? and I gave him the very short version. My cousin Eleanor is getting married, and she didn't invite me because she thinks I'm not classy enough for her fancy wedding. Ethan laughed. Seriously, that's ridiculous. Where? Is she even having it? I told him the name of the venue. I remembered Eleanor bragging about how exclusive and beautiful it was. Ethan's eyes widened a little. Wait, that venue? The Lakeside Manor. Yeah, I said. Why, that's one of my dad's place. He said he owns. My jaw dropped. Of all the places in the state, they picked his venue. This was something Ethan saw the look on my face. Huh, small world. Does he know you're her cousin? No, I said. I doubt it. Why would he? Ethan just shrugged. No reason, just curious. Later that day, Mr. Richard called me. He sometimes just checks in. We talked about work for a bit, and then he said, Ethan mentioned you were having a bit of family trouble. Something about a wedding at one of my venues. I hesitated. Should I tell him the whole silly story? It felt awkward. But Mr. Richard has this way of making you feel comfortable, like you can tell him anything. So I did. I told him about Eleanor, about the classy enough comment about being excluded. Didn't complain or ask him to do anything. I just explained why I was feeling a bit low. Mr. Richard listened quietly. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. He said, Lakeside Manor. Eleanor, you say getting married to a Derek. That's them, I confirmed. Interesting. He said, let me look into something. I'll call you back. I had no idea what he was looking into. Maybe he was just curious. Maybe he knew Margaret or something. I put it out of my mind. A couple of days later, Mr. Richard called me back. His voice was different. This time, not warm and casual, but serious. Olivia Hayes, he said. I looked into the contract for Eleanor's wedding at Lakeside Manor. Okay, I prompted, confused. When they booked the venue, he continued, they applied for a special rate, a significant discount. It was for family and friends of business associate Olivia Hayes. My breath caught in my throat. What? Yes, he said. They listed you as the contact person who referred them. Said you were a close family member who worked closely with me. And that's how they heard about the venue and qualified for the discount. I was stunned. But I didn't do that. I didn't refer them. I didn't even know they were looking at your venue until Ethan told me, and they didn't invite me. Precisely, Mr. Daniel said. They used your name, my association with you, and claimed a relationship that allowed them to get a rate they weren't entitled to. That Olivia Hayes is fraud. They lied to get the discount. He wasn't angry at me, but he sounded deeply displeased about the situation. This isn't about the money, Olivia Hayes, he said firmly. It's about integrity. They lied on a legal document. They used my good faith and your name to cheat. He was quiet for a moment. I run my businesses on trust and honesty. I cannot allow this to stand. If they are willing to lie about this, what else would they do? He made a decision. I am terminating their contract immediately for fraudulent misrepresentation. I was shocked. You're canceling the wedding? I am terminating the contract based on fraud. He corrected. They broke the agreement by lying. The event cannot proceed under these terms. I will instruct my staff to inform them. They will be required to vacate the premises. He wasn't doing it for my sake, not as a personal favor or for revenge. He was doing it because his business had been defrauded and they had used my name to do it. He was upholding his principles. But the result, Eleanor's wedding, the one I wasn't classy enough for, the centerpiece of their perfect image, was going to be canceled. I didn't feel happy or triumphant. It felt heavy, complicated. They had hurt me, excluded me, called me not good enough. And now, because they took their pretense and manipulation too far, their big day was going to be ruined, and my name was tied up in it. Mr. Richard handled the details professionally. His legal team sent a formal notice to Eleanor and Derek, and presumably Margaret, stating the contract termination due to fraud. They were given a deadline to remove any decorations or items already at the venue. The wedding day arrived. I wasn't invited, of course. I spent the morning trying to distract myself. I felt a strange mix of anxiety and morbid curiosity. What was happening there? How would they react? Around midday, my phone started buzzing. Texts and calls came in, not from Eleanor or her mother, but from other family members, distant cousins, even some people I barely knew who were apparently at the venue. The messages were chaotic, full of exclamation points and question. Ethan's, "OMG, Olivia Hayes, are you seeing this? What is happening at the venue? They're kicking everyone out. Your name came up Then I got a call from my own mother, who was at the venue as a guest. Though she had been quietly upset I wasn't invited, she sounded flustered, speaking in a low, urgent voice. "Savannah, it's chaos here. Absolute chaos." "Mom, what's happening?" Venue staff just came out right as people were arriving for the ceremony. They said the event was canceled for fraud. "Mr. Richard is here. He said they lied on the contract and used your name." I listened as she described the scene. It was exactly what Mr. Richard said would happen. The wedding party, the guests, all milling around, confused and shocked. Then Eleanor appeared in her wedding dress. She was yelling, screaming actually, not happy screams, full-on furious screams. "You can't do this," she shrieked at the staff. "This is my wedding." Margaret was right there with her face red with anger. "This is outrageous. We paid for this. You can't just kick us out." Mr. Richard himself, calm and composed, stood near the entrance. My mom said he spoke clearly, his voice carrying over the noise. He repeated that the contract was void due to fraud, that they had lied about their relationship to Olivia Hayes to get a discount. He pointed out that using someone's name without their permission for financial gain was deceitful. He wasn't loud, but his authority was undeniable. He simply stated the facts and the consequences. The party had to leave. Now, my mom said the scene was unbelievable. Guests whispering, some looking horrified, others looking, well, maybe a little bit like they were enjoying the drama. Eleanor was having a full-blown meltdown, crying, mascara running, yelling about her perfect day being ruined. Margaret was arguing with anyone who would listen, trying to bluster her way out of it, denying they had done anything wrong even when faced with the evidence. And Derek? My mom said she saw him standing a little ways off from the main group, looking pale. He didn't yell, he didn't argue, he just watched the scene unfold, his new bride screaming in her expensive dress. Then, quietly, while his mother-in-law was still shouting, he turned and walked away. He got in his car and left. He never came back. The marriage didn't happen. The engagement was over. The perfect wedding had imploded. Not because I did anything, but because they tried to cheat and got caught using my name to do it. In the hours that followed, more messages came in. The story spread like wildfire through the family and their friends. The real reason the wedding was canceled, it wasn't a double booking. It wasn't a sudden illness. It was fraud. And Savannah's name was involved, but not how Eleanor and Margaret had claimed. People heard they had lied, used my name, all while thinking I wasn't good enough to even be there. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. It wasn't Olivia Hayes, the wild one, who caused trouble. It was Eleanor and Margaret who were caught being dishonest and manipulative. I started getting apology texts, not from Eleanor or Margaret, not a chance, but from extended family. Members, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, aunts and uncles who had probably quietly agreed I wasn't classy enough before. Heard, "What happened to Olivia Hayes? So sorry you were treated like that. Can't believe they used your name. That was messed up. Always liked you, Olivia Hayes. Knew you were the real deal." It wasn't about the apologies, really. It was about the truth coming out. People saw the difference between the fake class they valued and actual integrity. That weekend, the one that was supposed to be Eleanor's perfect wedding day, I wasn't crying at home or stewing in anger. Instead, I went to a little lakeside cabin I sometimes rent. It was quiet, peaceful. I sat on the porch watching the sun sparkle on the water. I opened a bottle of wine. It wasn't fancy wine, just something I liked. I didn't wear a dress. I wore comfy pants and a t-shirt. I took a picture of my view, the lake, the trees, my hand holding the wine glass. I didn't need a filter. I didn't need to pretend. It was just real. I posted it online. The caption I wrote was simple, direct. "Turns out class isn't about the dress code." I smiled as I posted it. It felt good. It felt like the truth. True class wasn't about acting a certain way, or having expensive things, or fitting into someone else's narrow idea of perfect. It was about being honest, being kind, being yourself, and they had failed completely on that front. Looking back, I'm not gloating about the wedding being canceled. It was a messy public disaster, but I am glad I stayed true to myself. I didn't try to change to fit their mold. I didn't beg for an invitation. I just lived my life. And when their dishonesty caught up with them, using my name of all things, the consequences were their own doing. Karma, you could say, or just the natural result of building your world on lies and appearances. Real stories and real people, they always win in the end. If you've ever been pushed aside for not being someone else's idea of perfect, hit like, subscribe, and stick around because real stories and real people always win in the end.